Hey everybody, welcome to another Cricut craft tutorial. Today we are going to do a tutorial on canvas tote bags. We're going to make a Disney inspired one with this really cute Minnie Mouse head made out of little tiny Mickeys. So all I did was found this image on Google and then I'm going to upload it. I uploaded it into my design space. But what I want to show you is there's kind of a cheat way to get around this if I want the bow a different color. So what I'm going to do is select my project and hit the contour button. And all I want to do is get rid of the bow. So I just click on each piece of the bow and make sure that it's kind of whited out a little bit. And what that's going to do is it's going to hide that bow. So when I go to cut, it's only going to cut these outside Mickey heads. And I'm going to do these outside Mickey heads in a like teal color from Scissor. I'm not sure what the actual name of it is, but I'll show it to you guys. Mint from the Scissor Easy Weed, and then I'm going to use Scissor Glitter HTV for the bow in a pink. So I'll get those all set up and we can cut it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you, I'm going to hit make it, and it's only going to show me my outside Mickeys, and then I'm going to make sure to set my dial to iron on because I'm just using Scissor, and I'm just going to hit continue. I'll get the mats loaded and I can show you guys it cutting it out. We're ready to put our vinyl on our mat, and with heat transfer you want to make sure that you put your shiny side, so this side with the plastic carrier, down. I cut mine to size, so it's about 10 inches long and it's going to be the typical 12 inches wide. So I'm just going to make sure that get it on my mat pretty evenly. And this one you make sure you press it down. Make sure all your corners are down. Like I said, make sure you have your dial set to the correct setting. And then you're going to load your vinyl. So we'll just hit the load button again. Make sure your setting is on iron on. And then we're going to load our vinyl. Dog hair off of it. And hit the CRICUT button. Now for this one, a lot of times you'll hear everyone say you have to mirror the image. I did not mirror this image, but I did that on purpose because it doesn't matter if this one is mirrored or not. If you have writing or you have a specific way you need your picture to face, you want to mirror your image. But since mine was just Mickey heads, I didn't need to mirror it at all. But I do recommend if you do cut iron on that you should mirror your image. So we're going to let this one cut out the Mickey heads. It's going to take a few minutes just because there's so many little pieces, parts to it. And when we come back, I'll show you guys how to get rid of all the Mickey heads so that you can cut out your bow. So we've cut out the outline of the Mickeys. So now what we need to do is do the bow. So we're going to select our Mickeys. And we're going to go back to our contour. And for this one, it's a lot easier just to hit hide all contours. And then you want to make sure that your bow is highlighted. So then when you close out of that, you'll have just your bow. You don't need to resize your bow at all. Don't touch it because it's going to cut the bow in the correct size to go with the rest of your Mickey Mouse heads. So I'm going to go ahead and click make this. This one we're going to need to set on custom because we're using glitter. So I'm going to hit continue and show you guys. I set my dial on my CRICUT to custom, and it's going to bring up a little menu here. And it's going to offer us certain options. Well, this is glitter iron on, which is right here. So we're just going to click glitter iron on, and then we're going to be able to load our glitter iron on, and we can put our Mickey heads, or we can do our bow on here. Now I want to point out to you before we go around, right here where it says make sure mirror is turned on and material shiny side down. Like I said, for this one, we're not going to mirror it because we didn't really need to. I kind of rather her bow face the other way. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this down to size. We'll get it on the mat and then we can cut. We're going to load our glitter iron on. So again, shiny side down. You can see this side doesn't have the glittery side. This one is glittery, so you want to put that down. The reason you do that is because the carrier sheet, which is basically the plastic that your vinyl sticks to, I did a terrible job sticking that, the plastic that your vinyl is sticking to is on that side. So it's basically like when you're using a regular vinyl and you use transfer tape. That's what that shiny stuff is. That's your transfer tape. So that's why you put it down, because you don't want it to cut through that. You only want it to cut through your vinyl. So I'm going to go ahead and load this. And remember, we did set to custom so that it can cut the custom setting for the glitter vinyl. I'm going to hit the go button, and it's going to go ahead and cut. And this one, it's going to cut out our bow. Now, everybody has mentioned how hard it is to weed glitter vinyl, and they're not wrong. It is not the easiest thing in the world to do, so I'm going to show you guys just a couple little tricks that I have done. But for me, I noticed that with the silver, it's really hard to see. Gold is really hard to see, but the colored glitter is a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to pull this off for you guys, and hopefully you'll be able to see this when I hold it up. And I don't know how well you guys are going to see this in the camera, but I can see the cut lines for the bow. So I know that it goes over to here. I'm going to trim this because I don't want to waste my vinyl. This stuff is not cheap. So I'm going to go ahead and trim my glitter vinyl close to my bow. And like I said, I can see where it's cut. But again, I think it's a lot of it's because it's a color and it's not just the, it's not the gold or the silver. And like I said, I'm going to cut this one really close to the bow anyways to begin with because of how we're going to lay this on our project. So I just like to cut it really close to begin with. But again, if you can't see your cut lines, you're gonna need to just try the best you can without messing anything up. There are some tips and tricks you can use with a pen, and I will be doing a tutorial on that in the next few days on how you can draw on the back of the glitter vinyl so that you can see where you cut. But I'm going to get these weeded, and then we're going to apply them to our canvas tote. We're ready to put our iron-on decal onto our tote bag. So I got this off of Amazon. I will link it below. It's by Og Bunny, and it's 100% cotton. It's actually really nice quality. It's got a pretty narrow spacing, but I think it's going to be perfect for like grocery shopping, which is what I wanted it for. So as you can see, it's come to me wrinkled. Not a big deal, but we're going to iron it out. It is 100% cotton, so I did set this on the highest setting on my iron. For this part, when you're just ironing your product or your t-shirt or whatever it is that you're ironing, you can use your iron just like you normally would. You can just run it right over your project. When you go to do your iron on your actual piece, you don't want to run your iron like you're doing here where you're rubbing it. We're just going to press it. But because we're just pressing out the wrinkles right now, we can just rub it like we would a normal iron. There is a little bit of a wrinkle up here. I'm going to try to get rid of it. I'm not the world's best ironer, if you will. I'm supposed to, at some point in my life, I'm sure I should have learned how to do this better, but well, you know. It's one of those skills that I feel like is going by the wayside anymore. So we're going to get this wrinkle out here, and it doesn't have to be 100% perfect because as you put your design on, it will flatten out as well. So this is pretty good. So I'm going to show you guys a couple of things you need. So obviously you need your canvas tote or whatever you're ironing on. I use a cookie sheet. It's just a new cookie sheet that I got for like a couple bucks a while back. So all I do is I slide that under my project, and because mine has a little lip, I make sure that that lip is up to the top where I'm not going to put my design. So I have my bow, and then I have my Mickeys. So the first thing I think I'm going to lay down is I think I'm going to do my bow, because I think the Mickeys will be a little bit easier to put down second. The bow will be easier to center. So I'm going to put the Mickeys to the side, and we're going to go ahead and center our bow. There's a couple ways you could find center. I eyeball it most of the time, and especially because this has a little bit of an indent where the handles are, centering isn't going to be really an issue for this. project, should be pretty simple to find about where center is. And then you're going to need parchment paper, which I just got from the Dollar Tree. I'll show you the package. So this is the package that I got. It was $1. You get about 8 1/3 yard or so for $1. And you can reuse it. So this piece that I'm using on my bow, that's why I cut it so big. The piece that I'm using on my bow, I can then go back and use on my Mickey heads as well. So remember, because we're just using a regular iron, and I'll slide this over a little bit for you guys. Since we're using a regular iron, we need to press really hard with like a lot of weight. And the bow is bigger than the iron. So the first thing we're going to do, set our iron down, and I'm just going to press. And I'm using like almost all of my body weight that I can on my project. If you guys have an easy press, especially with using a glitter iron on, you're gonna want to use a lot of pressure. I hear a lot of people say it doesn't, it has not adhered very well. Glitter iron on does take quite a bit of pressure to adhere. So we're gonna go ahead and get the bow on, and like I said, don't rub. You saw I just lift it straight up, and then I set it right back down, straight down, and then I press. They say for about 30 seconds, but I usually kind of chance it and go as long as I think it needs. But just check your project as you go, because you can burn the glitter. I've seen it happen. So you can just kind of check your project as you go. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my parchment off so I can show you guys. So obviously you see our bow. This is one that you do a hot peel. And you can see it's not sticking. Sometimes I will just do it without the parchment paper on it. You just want to make sure you're watching so that your plastic doesn't shrink and melt. Now a lot of people do ask with the glitter iron on, because there's that extra glitter that's stuck like all over the plasticky part after you peel off what you're not going to use. Don't worry, because that's not going to stick to your project unless you're layering. And even where it does stick on your other projects, it'll come off with a little baby wipe, or you can use a lint roller. And you can also use, just when you wash it, it'll come off. It's just kind of stuck to the other, it's just stuck to your other vinyl that you used. Be careful when peeling, because it is very warm. But like I said, glitter iron-on is a warm peel, so we're going to go ahead and peel this off. You can see it's adhered really nicely. And it's super duper glittery, which I love. I think that's so fun. I'm a sucker for glitter. Now, with the next piece that we use, we're going to need to trim the Mickeys. So I'm going to grab my scissors. Hang on one second here. So, because of where the Mickeys are going to lay, I need to cut the plastic part really, really close to the edge Mickeys at the top, because they're going to be real close to the bow, and I don't want a chance getting any of this plastic stuck to anything. And you can also trim your project super close, because it'll prevent some of that shadowing that I see a lot of people get. And what that shadowing is it's from the adhesive. Because obviously all these sheets are sticky so that they hold down, but that adhesive does melt a bit, and it does leave a little bit of a shadow. So I'm going to go ahead and just trim mine a little bit closer than what I already had trimmed. And then all we're going to do is we're going to line it up with our bow. So all I'm going to do is just sort of find where I think it should go, and then I'm just going to press my paper down so it's nice and flat. And then again, we're going to put our parchment paper on top of our project just to protect it. And then we're just going to go over our project just like we did with the bow. Now for this one, we're going to have to be extra careful, because we did take the carrier sheet off of our bow, so we want to be careful when we are pressing. If we take and press without the parchment paper on, you're going to want to be really careful so that you don't melt your bow. Now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that I keep that bow covered. Now I did keep the carrier sheet for the bow just in case. My iron does like to beep, so if you guys hear it beep like it just did, it just beeps to let me know that it's back up to temperature. On my wish list is definitely a heat press, and once I get one, we can definitely do some fun videos to show you guys how to use the heat press. Don't worry if your parchment paper kind of moves around as your iron goes on it. As long as your iron or your parchment paper is covering your project, you will be fine. Just make sure that your project doesn't move around on your surface. It shouldn't, because that sticky stuff is sticky. So because I know I didn't press very long on these, I'm going to go back around it. And this is where a heat press is much more handy, because this is such a large design. Obviously my iron cannot possibly cover the entire thing. There's just no way. So for me, I have to go piece by little piece around the outside. Whereas the heat press, you could do it all in one shot if you have a larger one, because this is kind of a large project. Again, lots and lots of pressure. Again, I did use a mint Scissor Easy Weed for the Mickeys, and then I used a Scissor Easy Weed or Scissor Glitter iron-on for the bow. So we're just gonna check that. A lot of times what I'll do is, once I've pressed my project for a little bit, I'll go ahead and pull this off, the parchment off, and then I'll kind of just take a look and see how it looks. You're gonna want to see the pattern of your fabric in your little Mickey Mouse heads, I guess Mickey Mouse heads I should call them. So I'm going to press this once without the carrier sheet. So remember, make sure you're not touching the bow, because you can melt that and you don't want to do that. So we're just going to press it for a few seconds without the parchment paper on top, because I think that's going to give us a little bit better adhesion. And again, lots and lots and lots and lots of pressure. The cookie sheet helps too, because that metal conducts some of that heat to the back of these, so I think it gives it a little bit more of a bond. I see a lot of people say to use wood. They use just their tabletops. That's fine too. I just like the cookie sheet because I don't want to damage my table, and also I just think it gives a little bit more. But you don't want to do these types of projects on a ironing board or anything soft. A soft surface, you're not going to get enough of a pressure to it. You're going to have to press extra hard, and a lot of times that's just not going to be enough. So we're going to go ahead and slowly peel off our carrier sheet and just sort of watch to make sure all of our Mickey heads stay. I see I had a little guy that tried to lift, and that's okay. So we're just going to go back and repress. It's okay if you've got a lifter. Sometimes they do that. So we're just going to go back and make sure that he's good and pressed. And I can actually see that there's one down here that doesn't look like he's really well adhered either. So I'm just going to go back, and again, lots and lots of pressure. Make sure you also are not using any steam in your iron, because that will ruin your iron-on. Any kind of water will cause it to not stick. So you want to make sure that if you do have a steam iron, that you either A, have the steam turned off, or B, that you are using one that you've never used the steam with. I don't put water in this one. This one is specifically for my crafts, so I don't use the steam at all. I feel like it's better safe than sorry with this one. Now again, when you're doing an iron, it is a little bit tougher to make sure each and every piece sticks. So just take your time. Like this little guy, he's lifting. He's got a little wrinkle going on because he lifted. So we'll just repress him. A lot of times when I do these, I make sure to just get that little tip of the iron right where I know that he's lifting. And I press with all my weight right on his little ear that was pulling up. And then I just kind of make sure that some of the other ones around him that maybe didn't look quite as well adhered are pressed really nicely. And like I said, you'll be able to see the pattern of your project, so your fabric in your project when you do this. So as you go, you'll see that your little guys will have a like a pattern in them. Nobody will notice. Don't worry about it. If they're not 100% smooth, they're not supposed to be. So we're just, oops, see, got another guy. Like I said, iron, not my favorite thing. You do have to have quite a bit of patience to use your iron. But it can be done, especially for a crafter on a budget who doesn't want to go and spend, you know, the $150 to $300 that a decent heat press costs. The easy press, in my opinion, is decent. It's not as large as some of the heat presses that you can get nowadays. Some of them are huge. It's also kind of just a giant glorified iron. While it does feel heavy, you still have to add a decent amount of pressure to it when you use it. So just make sure that when you do consider purchasing one, that you do understand that you will still, especially with the glitters and the holographics and things like that, you will still need to add pressure when you are pressing your items. I noticed I had a little lifting on one of my Mickey ears up in that corner, so I just went and repressed him as well. Oh, I think we're maybe finally making it to the home stretch. Hopefully none of these guys lift on me and we should be done. Well, that little guy, this little guy. So again, just repress, not a big deal, not the end of the world. And that's why I slowly peel and I keep my carrier sheet real close by, because then when you find one that hasn't stuck as well, you can just simply lay the carrier sheet right back on top of him and you can just go ahead and repress him. Like this guy at the top, I sort of had a feeling he wasn't going to stick real well because I've just been being very careful not to get the glitter. So we're just going to go ahead and repress that guy and this guy. We'll just get his body. And then I noticed one of these two little turds was not coming up. It's coming up a little bit, so I'm just going to repress him. Now, being that this isn't something I'm going to wash a lot, I think it'll be fine if they're not 100% perfect. If this was like a t-shirt that would be washed, especially a child's shirt, you would want to really make sure that these are really well adhered. But this is just going to be my fun grocery shopping bag because I just wanted something fun to shop with. So I'm going to use this. And we have all of our Mickey heads stuck. Guys, this really is a fun, simple project. I will warn you, be careful. Your cookie sheet is going to be hot. So don't pull it out right away. Let it cool. And we're going to go ahead and turn our iron off so that I don't forget. And this project is great for kids. You can make these for Mother's Day. Like I said, the link is below. I got 4 canvas tote bags for I think $12.99. Really nice size tote bag, really easy to use. They're 100% cotton, so they're super nice. The stitching's really good quality. The handles seem very heavy and thick. But I will put that link below. I hope you guys had a wonderful time learning how to do this really fun Mickey iron-on. If you have any questions, make sure you leave those below. Always happy to answer them. If you're looking for a tutorial, let me know in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and click that bell because that's going to tell you anytime I post a new video. I hope you guys have a great day.